I stood on Mom's front porch, my hand frozen inches from the doorbell. Through the window I could see him. My brother Tyler held a thick manila envelope against his chest, like it contained gold. He was smiling at Dad, who nodded slowly from his armchair. Mom sat on the couch, looking small and tired. Something about the scene felt wrong. My stomach twisted. Tyler's fingers tightened around the envelope when he noticed movement outside. Our eyes met through the glass. His smile didn't reach his eyes. It was the smile he'd used since we were kids, the one that said he'd already won whatever game we were playing. I knew that envelope. I'd seen Mom organizing papers in it weeks ago, before she got sick. Before everything changed. My chest felt tight. Betrayal tastes like metal, cold and sharp on your tongue. I dropped my hand and stepped back from the door. Not yet. I needed to think. I needed to understand what I'd just seen before I walked into whatever trap was waiting inside. My name is Evelyn Carter. I'm 32 years old. For the past 8 years, I worked as a project manager at a tech company in Seattle. I'm trained to stay calm when everyone around me panics. I'm trained to spot problems before they become disasters. I'm trained to read people, to notice the small things they think nobody sees. But this wasn't a project timeline or a budget issue. This was family. This was my mother, who'd raised me to be strong and independent. This was my father, who taught me that honesty mattered more than comfort. And this was Tyler, my older brother by 3 years, who'd always been the golden child. The one who could do no wrong. The one Mom and Dad trusted with everything. I'd driven 12 hours straight from Seattle when Dad called to say Mom's condition had worsened. I hadn't eaten. I hadn't slept. I'd just driven, my hands tight on the wheel, my mind racing through memories of Mom's laugh, her terrible jokes, the way she always knew when something was wrong. I took a breath and rang the doorbell. Tyler opened it almost immediately, like he'd been waiting. The envelope was gone now, probably hidden somewhere. His smile was warmer this time, practiced. "Evie, you made it." He pulled me into a hug that felt too tight, too long. I hugged him back, feeling his heartbeat against my cheek. It was racing. "How's Mom?" I asked, pulling away, resting upstairs. "Dad's with her now." He stepped aside to let me in. The house smelled like coffee and something else, something stale and medicinal. "You must be exhausted. Want some coffee?" I nodded, following him into the kitchen. My eyes scanned every surface, looking for the envelope. Nothing. Tyler moved around the kitchen like he owned it, pulling mugs from cabinets, adding sugar without asking if I wanted any. He'd always done that, made decisions for me like I couldn't think for myself. "We need to talk about some things," he said, not looking at me. "Mom's arrangements. Her wishes." My spine straightened. What arrangements? Tyler set a mug in front of me. The coffee was too sweet, like he'd added 3 spoons of sugar instead of 1. "Mom and I have been talking about what happens after." His voice was soft, careful, like he was handling something fragile. "She's asked me to handle her affairs. The house, the accounts, everything." I wrapped my hands around the mug, feeling its heat. "Mom asked you this?" "She trusts me, Evie. You know that." I looked at him, then, really looked at him. His eyes shifted away from mine. There was a tightness around his mouth. "Where's the will?" The question hung in the air between us. Tyler laughed, but it sounded forced. "What will?" "Mom's still alive, Evie. We don't need to talk about wills right now." But I'd seen the envelope. I'd seen the way he held it. "I just want to know what Mom wants. That's all." Tyler's jaw clenched. "What Mom wants is for us to not fight. What Mom wants is for family to stick together." I took a sip of the too sweet coffee and nodded. "You're right. Family first." His shoulders relaxed. He thought I'd back down. He thought I was the same little sister who'd always let him take the lead. That night, I lay in my childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling. The glow-in-the-dark stars I'd stuck up there at age 10 were still visible, faint green dots in the darkness. I could hear Tyler moving around downstairs, opening drawers, closing cabinets, searching for something or hiding something. I pulled out my phone and searched for probate attorneys in the area. The screen's blue light felt harsh in the dark room. I read through reviews, took screenshots of names and numbers. I wasn't angry yet. Anger would come later. Right now I was in planning mode. I thought about Mom upstairs, weak and tired. I thought about Dad, who'd always let Tyler make the big decisions. I thought about the envelope and Tyler's racing heartbeat and his too quick denial. By 3 a.m, I had a list of 5 attorneys and a basic understanding of probate law. I had questions written in my notes app. I had a timeline sketched out in my head. I didn't sleep. I didn't need to. Calm is more dangerous than fury. Tyler would learn that soon enough. The next morning, I came downstairs to find Tyler making breakfast. Pancakes, Mom's recipe. Dad sat at the table, reading the newspaper like everything was normal. "Morning, sunshine," Tyler said, too cheerful. He slid a plate in front of me. The pancakes were perfect, golden brown, just the right amount of butter melting on top. I smiled. "Thanks. These look great." We ate in comfortable silence. I asked Dad about his garden. I laughed at Tyler's story about his neighbor's dog. I played the role of grieving daughter perfectly. Every word measured. Every smile calculated. After breakfast, I offered to do the dishes. Tyler looked surprised but pleased. "Thanks, Evie. I need to run some errands anyway." I watched him grab his keys and wallet. The envelope wasn't in his hands, which meant it was still hidden somewhere in the house. As soon as his car pulled out of the driveway, I dried my hands and started searching. Not obviously, not frantically, methodically. I checked his bedroom first. Nothing in the nightstand or dresser. The closet yielded nothing but old clothes and boxes of childhood memories. I moved through the house like a ghost, careful not to disturb anything, careful to leave no trace. I found the envelope in Dad's office, tucked behind a row of old tax returns in the filing cabinet. My hands shook slightly as I pulled it out. Inside were copies of Mom's medical directives, property deeds, bank account information, and there at the bottom, all dated 6 months ago. I read it quickly, my eyes scanning the legal language. Mom had split everything evenly between Tyler and me. The house, the savings accounts, the small investment portfolio. 50-50. Equal shares. Equal responsibility. But there was a note in Mom's handwriting, paper-clipped to the will. Evelyn should have final say on medical decisions and estate management. She has the clearest head. My breath caught. I pulled out my phone and took pictures of everything. Every page. Every signature. Every note. Then I carefully put everything back exactly as I'd found it, making sure the tax returns sat at the same angle, the envelope at the same depth in the drawer. Tyler would never know I'd been here. I had what I needed now. Evidence. Proof. Ammunition. Tyler came home an hour later carrying grocery bags. "Thought I'd make Mom's soup for dinner," he said, unpacking vegetables and chicken broth. I helped him chop onions, our knives moving in rhythm on the cutting board. "Have you thought about what happens after?" I asked, keeping my voice soft, curious. Tyler paused. "After?" "After Mom. I mean, I know it's hard to think about, but we should probably have a plan. For her sake." He resumed chopping, his knife hitting the board harder now. "I told you, Evie. I'm handling it. Mom trusts me with this. I know. I just want to help. That's all." I let the sentence hang there, gentle and concerned. Tyler's shoulders relaxed. "I appreciate that. Really. But you've got your job in Seattle, your life. I'm here. I can manage the details." I nodded, stirring the soup. "You're right. You've always been better at this stuff anyway." His smile returned. Warm, confident, completely unaware that I'd just played him. That underestimation would be his downfall. Every word he said, every assumption he made, I catalogued it all in my mind. The next day, I told Tyler I needed to run into town for some things. Personal items, I said. He barely looked up from his laptop. Take your time. I'll be here with Mom and Dad. I drove to the office of Patricia Holmes, one of the attorneys on my list. Her building was small and professional, tucked between a coffee shop and a bookstore. She met me in a conference room with large windows overlooking the street. I explained the situation carefully. No accusations, no drama, just facts. The hidden envelope, the will's contents, Mom's note, Tyler's insistence on controlling everything. Patricia listened without interrupting, taking notes in neat handwriting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. Do you have copies of the will? I showed her the photos on my phone. She studied them for a long time. This is legitimate. Your mother's signature, witness signatures, everything's in order. And this note gives you clear authority. What do I do? She smiled. We prepare. Quietly. We file for probate when the time comes, and we make sure everything is legally airtight. Your brother won't be able to contest it. I felt something loosen in my chest. I wasn't alone anymore. I had professional backup now. 3 days later, Tyler announced a family meeting. He'd invited our Aunt Diane and Uncle Frank, Mom's siblings. They arrived with casseroles and sad smiles, hugging me too long, asking how I was holding up. We gathered in the living room. Tyler stood at the front like he was giving a presentation. Dad sat quietly in his chair. Mom was upstairs, too weak to join us. I wanted everyone together, Tyler began, to discuss Mom's wishes and how we'll honor them. He spoke about selling the house, splitting the proceeds, establishing a trust. His words were smooth and rehearsed. He'd practiced this. Aunt Diane nodded along. Uncle Frank asked practical questions about timelines and taxes. I sat on the couch, hands folded in my lap, face neutral. When Tyler asked if I had any concerns, I smiled softly. I think you've thought of everything. Thank you for taking care of this. His relief was visible. He'd expected resistance. He'd expected questions. Instead, I gave him compliance. I was already 3 moves ahead, pieces positioned on a board he couldn't see. After the meeting, I hugged everyone goodbye and told Tyler I'd stay another week to help out. That week, I became the perfect daughter and sister. I cooked meals. I cleaned the house. I sat with Mom, reading to her from her favorite books. I ran errands for Dad. I laughed at Tyler's jokes. All the while, Patricia and I exchanged emails. Careful, encrypted emails that Tyler would never see. The probate documents were drafted and ready. Copies of the will were in Patricia's safe. We had a timeline. We had a strategy. I didn't announce any of this. I waited. Mom's condition stabilized slightly. She had good days and bad days. On the good days, she'd sit up and talk, her voice weak but clear. You're a good girl, Evelyn, she said one afternoon. You've always been strong, smarter than people give you credit for. I held her hand. I learned from you, Mom. She squeezed my fingers. Don't let anyone push you around. Not even family, especially not family. I wondered if she knew, if she suspected what Tyler was doing. But she was too tired for hard conversations, too tired for confrontation. So I just kissed her forehead and promised I wouldn't let anyone push me around. Patience became power. Every day I waited was another day Tyler grew more confident, more careless. One evening, Tyler and I sat on the back porch drinking beer. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink. You know, Tyler said, staring at his bottle, I've been thinking about the lake house. Mom's lake house. The small cabin 3 hours north where we'd spent summers as kids. What about it? I asked. Might be good to sell it. The market's strong right now. We could get a decent price. My stomach tightened. I knew what was in Mom's will. The lake house was supposed to come to me, specifically. Mom had written it clearly. Tyler wanting to sell it was either ignorance or greed. Probably both. Does Mom know you want to sell it? Tyler shrugged. Mom's not really in a position to make these decisions anymore, Evie. That's why she put me in charge. I took a slow sip of beer. Right. Of course. I let the silence stretch between us. Then, casually, I always loved that place. Me too, Tyler said. But we have to be practical. I noted every word, every greedy assumption, every lie. The recorder in my pocket caught it all, his voice clear in the quiet evening air. A few days later, Tyler pulled me aside after breakfast. His face was serious, concerned. Evie, I need to talk to you about something. We sat in the living room. Dad was outside watering his garden. I'm worried about you, Tyler said. He reached for my hand, but I pulled it back slightly. What do you mean? This whole situation with Mom. It's a lot. You seem stressed, maybe overwhelmed. I frowned. I'm handling it. I know you think you are, but grief does things to people. Makes them irrational. Makes them see problems that aren't there. My heart rate picked up. This was manipulation. Textbook gaslighting. Tyler, I'm fine. Are you? Because you've been asking a lot of questions about Mom's affairs, about the will, about arrangements. It makes me think maybe you're not processing this in a healthy way. I let my eyes water slightly. I let my voice shake. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm just scared. I don't want to lose her. Tyler's expression softened. He bought it completely. I know. That's why you should let me handle the hard stuff. You focus on being with Mom, on saying goodbye. I nodded, wiping my eyes. Okay, thank you. He hugged me, and I let him, feeling his relief, his satisfaction. He believed he'd neutralized the threat. He had no idea I had just recorded the entire conversation. The days blurred together. Mom's good moments became fewer. The hospice nurse visited daily. Dad retreated into silence, spending hours in his garden. Tyler managed everything, making calls, signing papers, playing the dutiful son. I maintained my role. Quiet, helpful, grieving. But I was also counting down. Patricia had confirmed everything was ready. The moment Mom passed, I could file. The court would receive my petition. Evidence of Tyler's deception and control would be included. Timeline documented. Recordings transcribed. Photos organized. Tyler had spent weeks building his case for control. He didn't realize I'd spent the same weeks building mine. And mine was stronger. Legal. Airtight. One afternoon, I found Mom awake and alert. I sat beside her bed, holding her hand. Mom, I need to ask you something. She looked at me with eyes that were still sharp despite her failing body. Did you talk to Tyler about your will? About your wishes? She smiled weakly. I wrote it down, baby. Everything I want. You'll find it when the time comes. Tyler says you put him in charge. Mom's smile faded. I put you both in charge. Together. Equal. But you get final say. I wrote that down too. Mom died on a Tuesday morning. The sun was shining. Birds were singing outside her window. It felt wrong somehow that the world could be so beautiful while she left it. Dad held her hand. Tyler stood at the foot of the bed. I sat beside her, stroking her hair. She went quietly, peacefully, one moment breathing, the next still. The silence after was enormous. Dad broke first, his shoulders shaking with sobs. Tyler's face was stone. I felt numb, empty. The grief would come later, I knew. Right now, my body was in shock. We sat with her for a while. Then the hospice nurse came and made the necessary calls. The funeral home, the doctor, all the machinery of death grinding into motion. Tyler left the room to make more calls. Extended family, friends, Mom's church. I stayed with Dad holding his hand, saying nothing because there was nothing to say. Later, much later, I went to my room and cried. Hard, ugly crying that left me gasping. I cried for Mom, for lost time, for all the conversations we'd never have. But I didn't cry for what came next. What came next was justice. The funeral was 3 days later. A small service at Mom's church, then burial beside her parents in the old cemetery on the hill. Tyler gave a eulogy. He talked about Mom's kindness, her strength, her love for family. People cried. People hugged us. People said meaningless things like she's in a better place, and at least she's not suffering. After everyone left, Tyler, Dad, and I stood by the grave. The flowers were already wilting in the sun. "We need to meet with the lawyer next week," Tyler said. "Start settling the estate." I nodded. I didn't tell him I'd already met with Patricia that morning, before the funeral. Didn't tell him the probate petition had been filed electronically an hour ago. Didn't tell him the court had already assigned a case number. He'd find out soon enough. That evening, back at the house, Tyler's phone buzzed. Then again. Then a third time. He pulled it out, frowning at the screen. His face changed. Went pale. Then red. "What the hell is this?" He shoved the phone at me. I looked at the email from the county probate court. Confirmation of filing. Case details. My name as petitioner. I handed the phone back calmly. "I filed for probate." Tyler stared at me. "You what?" "I filed for probate this morning. I'm the executor of Mom's estate." Tyler's hands were shaking. "You can't do that. I'm the oldest. I'm supposed to handle this." "Mom's will says otherwise." I pulled out copies of the documents, the ones Patricia had prepared. I have her will, her wishes, and her note stating I should have final authority. Tyler grabbed the papers, reading frantically. "This is bullshit. You went behind my back. You hid the will from me," I said, my voice steady. "You tried to manipulate the situation. You tried to sell property that wasn't yours to sell." "I was protecting the family." Dad spoke for the first time in days. "Tyler, is this true? Did you hide the will?" Tyler's mouth opened and closed. "Dad, I was trying to make things easier. Evie's in Seattle. She doesn't have time for this. I was doing what was best." "What was best for you?" I corrected. "Not what Mom wanted." Tyler's face twisted with rage. "You have no right." "I have every right. It's in writing. Signed by Mom. Witnessed. Legal." The room fell silent except for Tyler's heavy breathing. He looked at Dad, expecting support. Dad just shook his head sadly and walked away. Over the next few days, Tyler tried everything. He called his own lawyer. He tried to file counterpetitions. He attempted to access Mom's bank accounts and found them frozen pending probate. He sent angry texts, angry voicemails. He showed up at Patricia's office demanding to speak with her. She refused to see him without me present. Aunt Diane called. "Evelyn, what's going on?" "Tyler says you're trying to steal the estate." "I'm not stealing anything. I'm following Mom's wishes." "But Tyler lied, Aunt Diane. He hid Mom's will. He tried to manipulate the estate distribution. I have proof." Silence. Then, "Oh honey, I had no idea." Uncle Frank called next. Then Tyler's best friend. Then neighbors. Each time I explained calmly. Each time I offered to show them the documents. Each time they backed down. Tyler's credibility was crumbling. The lies he'd built his control on were collapsing under the weight of truth. Meanwhile, Patricia moved forward methodically. Asset inventories, debt assessments, property valuations, everything legal, everything documented, everything above board. Tyler couldn't fight what he couldn't attack. The system was working exactly as it should. 2 weeks after filing, Patricia and I met in her office. "The court has reviewed everything. Your petition is solid. Your brother's attempts to contest have been denied." I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "So it's over?" "Almost. There's a hearing next month, just a formality. But barring something extraordinary, you'll be confirmed as executor." I nodded. "What about Tyler?" Patricia's expression was careful. He can still inherit his portion as specified in the will, but he has no control over the estate management. That's yours. Good. I meant it. I didn't want to punish Tyler by cutting him out. I just wanted to stop him from controlling everything, from manipulating the situation, from pretending Mom's wishes didn't matter. That night, I sat in Mom's lake house. I'd driven up alone, needing space, needing quiet. The place smelled like pine and old wood. Memories lived in every corner. I decided to keep it, not sell it like Tyler wanted. Mom had left it to me specifically, and I understood why now. This was the one place we'd always been honest with each other. No pretending, no games, just Mom and me, talking by the fire, swimming in the lake, being real. The hearing was scheduled for a Wednesday morning. I wore Mom's pearl necklace, the one she'd worn to every important event. Tyler showed up with his lawyer, a sharp-faced woman in an expensive suit. They sat on one side of the courtroom. Patricia and I sat on the other. The judge reviewed the documents, asked a few questions. Tyler's lawyer tried to argue that emotional distress had clouded my judgment, that I'd manipulated Mom while she was sick. Patricia calmly presented the timeline. Photos dated months before Mom got sick. Signatures witnessed by people with no connection to me. Mom's note in her own handwriting. The judge listened, made notes, then looked at Tyler. Mr. Carter, did you have possession of your mother's will prior to her death? Tyler hesitated. Yes, but did you share this information with your sister? I was planning to. Did you attempt to sell property designated for your sister in the will? Tyler's lawyer jumped in. Your Honor, my client was acting in what he believed was the family's best interest. The judge's expression didn't change. That's not what I asked. The silence stretched. Tyler's face was red. Finally, yes, I had the will. No, I didn't tell her. And yes, I discussed selling the lake house. The judge's ruling was swift. I was confirmed as executor with full authority over the estate. Tyler's portion of the inheritance was secured. Mom's will would be honored. But he had no say in how assets were managed or distributed. As we left the courthouse, Tyler tried to corner me on the steps. You humiliated me in there. You humiliated yourself, I said. I just told the truth. This is what you wanted, to make me look like some villain. I stopped walking, looked at him directly. Tyler, I wanted us to honor Mom together, as equals, the way she intended. But you couldn't let that happen. You had to be in control. You had to win. I'm your brother. You're a liar who hid our mother's will. The words came out harder than I intended. You thought I was too weak or too stupid to notice. You thought you could manipulate everyone and get away with it. Tyler's eyes were wet. For a moment, I saw the brother I'd grown up with. The one who'd taught me to ride a bike. The one who'd scared away my middle school bullies. Then the moment passed. I hope you're happy, he said. He walked away and I let him go. In the weeks that followed, I settled into the work of managing Mom's estate. It was tedious. Mountains of paperwork. Endless phone calls with banks and insurance companies. Meetings with accountants and real estate agents. But it was also satisfying. I was honoring Mom's wishes, making sure everything was done right. Dad moved into a smaller condo, something easier to maintain. He seemed lighter somehow, free from the weight of that big empty house. Tyler and I didn't speak much. We exchanged necessary emails about estate matters. Cold, professional. Once he sent a late-night text. I'm sorry. I stared at it for a long time. I wanted to forgive him. Part of me did. But sorry wasn't enough. Sorry didn't erase the lies, the manipulation, the betrayal. I wrote back, I know you are, but we can't go back to how things were. He didn't respond. The lake house became my retreat. I went there most weekends, working remotely, swimming in the cold water, sitting on the dock at sunset. It was healing being there, being in the place Mom had loved most. 6 months after Mom's death, The estate was settled. Assets distributed according to her wishes. Tyler received his half. I received mine. It was over. I drove to the cemetery on what would have been Mom's birthday, brought her favorite flowers, purple irises. The headstone was simple. Her name, her dates, beloved mother and friend. I sat in the grass beside her grave and talked to her like she could hear me, told her about the lake house, about Dad's new place, about Tyler and the distance between us. I did what you asked, I said. I didn't let anyone push me around, even him. The wind rustled through the trees. A bird called somewhere nearby. I felt something like peace settle over me. Not happiness exactly, but acceptance, understanding. I'd fought for what mattered. I'd protected Mom's legacy. I'd stood up for myself even when it cost me my relationship with my brother. And I'd do it all again. Some bridges burn because they were built on lies. Some family bonds break because they were never as strong as we pretended. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away with your dignity intact and your mother's wishes honored. I returned to Seattle, but kept the lake house. Made plans to spend summers there. Maybe even move there eventually. Work was good. Life was good. Quiet in a way it hadn't been in years. Dad and I talked weekly. He was dating someone, a widow from his church. He sounded happy. Tyler sent a Christmas card. Generic message. No personal note. I sent one back. We were polite strangers now. People who shared DNA and history, but nothing else. I wondered sometimes if we'd ever repair what had broken. If years from now, we'd find our way back to each other. Maybe. Maybe not. One evening, I got a friend request on social media from Aunt Diane. We'd talked a few times since the hearing, brief conversations where she'd apologized for not seeing Tyler's manipulation sooner. I accepted the request. She messaged immediately, "How are you, honey?" "I'm good. Really good. Your mom would be proud of you. You know that, right?" I smiled. Typed back, "I hope so." Because that was the truth. I hoped Mom was proud. Hoped she understood why I'd fought so hard. Hoped she knew I'd done it all for her, not against Tyler. Strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet determination. Patient planning. Choosing truth over peace. A year after Mom's death, I stood on the dock at the lake house watching the sun set over the water. The sky was on fire, orange and pink and purple streaking across the horizon. I thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the fight, the victory. And I realized something important. I wasn't angry anymore. Not at Tyler. Not at the situation. Not even at myself for the time I'd wasted being the compliant little sister. I'd grown. Changed. Become the person Mom had always believed I could be. Strong enough to stand alone. Smart enough to plan ahead. Brave enough to fight for what mattered. My phone buzzed. A text from Patricia. "How's the lake house?" I sent her a photo of the sunset. She responded with a heart emoji. I'd made new connections. Found new family in unexpected places. People who respected me. Who saw my strength instead of trying to diminish it. The water lapped against the dock. A loon called across the lake. I pulled Mom's sweater tighter around my shoulders. I'd kept it, couldn't bring myself to donate it, and breathed in the pine-scented air. This was what Mom had wanted for me. Peace. Independence. The ability to choose my own path. And finally I had it. If you're reading this and something feels familiar, if you've ever been underestimated by family, if you've ever watched someone try to take what isn't theirs, I want you to know something important. You don't have to fight dirty to win. You don't have to become cruel. You just have to be smart, patient, prepared. Document everything. Trust your instincts. Find good people to support you. And never, ever let anyone convince you that staying silent is the same as being strong. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is speak up. File the paperwork. Stand in front of a judge and tell the truth. Walk away from relationships that were built on lies. I lost my brother in this fight. Maybe temporarily. Maybe forever.